My name is Autumn, and in my group is Carson and Lucas, and we decided to do the mechanics of a back squat. First, I'm going to explain the desired outcomes of a bodyweight squat. The main goal is to increase in muscle strength, especially your lower limbs, your legs, your glutes, and your back extensors, and also your core. Having stronger core and lower limbs is going to also decrease your injury risk. The bodyweight squat also improves mobility in the hip, the knee, and the ankle joints because there's flexion and extension going on there. And also, you will gain knee stability. The proper mechanics of a bodyweight squat is your starting position is your feet are going to be shoulder width stance apart with your toes pointing straight ahead. So your feet are parallel and you're going to have an upright torso. Maintained throughout, you want to have your gaze forward, your shoulders back, and your neck at a neutral position. You never want to be looking down or up with your neck. In the descending phase, you're going to experience hip flexion, knee flexion, and ankles dorsiflexion. In the ascending phase, you're going to have hip extension, knee extension, and ankles are going to go into plantar flexion. And you're going to also have gluteal contraction, which brings the hips back to the standing phase while placing pressure through the heels. Throughout this presentation, we're going to be comparing the joint angles, the torques, and the moment arms of the resistance band squat, a low barbell back squat, and a barbell front squat. The back angle is made from the imaginary connection between the trunk and the floor, and the hip angle is made between the back and the thigh position, and the knee angle is from the thigh and the lower leg.
So when you add a resistance band to the squat, you first want to step on the band with your feet parallel to each other and place the band over your trapezius. Then you want to grab the front of the band with an underhand grip, which will make the squat position very similar to a barbell back squat. Once you get into this position, you can then continue the descending and ascending phase of the squat in the same fashion you would with a regular body weight squat. And it's also important to note that once you place the resistance band in this position, the center of mass will align with the top portion of the band resting at the trapezius. Because the center of mass is aligned in this position, it is very similar to the mechanics of a high barbell back squat. And so the moment arm will be longer at the hip and shorter at the knee. And since the moment arm at the hip is longer than the knee, there's going to be more torque generated at the hip than there is compared to the knee. And since the body is now under the load of the band, there is an increased force on all of the lower body joints, which means there's more torque generated at the hip, knee, and the ankle joint in a resistance band squat than there is in a body weight squat. And so the other thing we see with the load of the resistance band added to the body compared to a regular body weight squat is the angle of the hip in the descending phase is less than the angle of the hip in the unloaded descending phase. And similarly, the angle of the knee in the loaded descending phase is also less than the angle of the knee in the unloaded descending phase. And lastly, the angle of the ankle during both phases in the loaded and unloaded squat remain relatively the same.
For the low bar back squat, the bar should be placed around 3 inches below the trapezius, just on top of the shoulder blades. Using an overhand grip, grab the bar as close to the shoulders as possible or as close as most comfortable. In this type of squat, the chest should be slightly leaned forward, forcing the hips to be pushed back. This positioning creates a knee angle of 120 degrees and a hip angle of 40 degrees. Due to the leaning of the chest forward, the moment arm of the knee is shortened, while the hip and back moment arm are increased. The increased length of the moment arm also gives the hip and back the most amount of torque, while the knee has less torque due to a shorter moment arm.
The barbell front squat is where the bar is going to be placed in front of you rather than behind you, changing the center of mass. Proper form with the barbell front squat is you want the barbell to be held on your chest with an underhand grip with your hand shoulder width apart. Your elbows are going to lift forward up and away from the body, and you're going to have an upright spinal position and a lifted chest. The weight is centered over the middle of the feet. The barbell front squat requires a more vertical trunk position in order to keep the bar positioned over the middle of the foot and allow the body to remain in balance, where the torso leans slightly forward in the back squat. Those are going to change the joint angles. Therefore, the knee angle is 130 degrees, which is smaller than both of the back squat techniques due to forward knee position. And the hip and back angles are 75 degrees, which are larger than the back squat positions due to the more upright chest position. The moment arm of the front squat of the knee is going to be greater than that of the low bar back squat. The knee translates forward given a more vertical trunk position. And the hip moment arm is going to be less than that of the low bar back squat due to the hips having a smaller angle with the upright chest position. The most amount of torque is on the knee joint, and there's less torque on the hip and lower back. Thank you.